On this week's episode of Friend Code, we're talking about whether or not Skyward Sword is coming to the Switch, Smash Brothers leaked, and the Zelda timeline fiasco 2018 continues. Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Friend Code. I'm your host, Michael Damiani. This week I'm joined by Ian Hink.
Hi.
Cal Bossman.
Hi. May I just say?
Yes, you may say.
May I say? When you asked me if I would come on the podcast, you did not say we're going to talk more about the Zelda timeline.
Yeah, that was not mentioned.
You just dropped that bomb on me right now.
It's not what you think though.
Okay.
Basically the Breath I couldn't say this succinctly in the intro.
Oh, of course not.
But what we're getting to is Breath of the Wild's timeline placement has been finalized. There's a final answer. That's it.
Okay.
No more arguing about it.
Okay.
But it's not what people like.
All right. We'll call Simmons. We're going to get Simmons on the line?
Oh, no. Don't need I already know what that reaction is going to be like.
Yep.
But we're here to start off by talking about Skyward Sword. And I really wanted you on this episode, Kyle, because I wanted to talk because I know you really like Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
And I needed someone on here who's a champion of Skyward Sword.
Yes.
Because we now have this possibility. I think it was always a possibility in the back of anyone's mind.
Not mine.
That Skyward Sword, any previous game had a potential to come to Switch in the future.
Mm-hmm. Super Mario Maker.
Stuff.
Yeah,
see,
that's the only one
we all have so many games that we think could come to Switch and work.
Yeah.
It's proven it can do that.
Yeah.
But I think Skyward Sword would fit into that category. Maybe at the top of the list. But the reason I think this has come to the front and center of headlines out there is because at a recent Zelda concert in Osaka, Japan, AJ Numa came out on stage.
Yeah.
It's like, hi everybody, you know who I am and stuff, standard applause and all that stuff, well deserved. And basically he came on stage and said, I know what you're thinking. Skyward Sword for Switch, right?
And then he walked off.
And he just walked off, and everyone was like applauding and stuff. No, that's not
that
how
is
it
what.
sounds.
So that's how the joke worked, basically. Because there's no recording. We're basically going off what everybody remembers from the event.
This is what's being reported.
Okay.
And it's the real quick important thing to say is that this is not a confirmation of it.
Right.
The way he words it, it's that I know what you're thinking. Skyward Sword for Switch, right?
Right.
Kind of like a.
Just like Reggie also says, I know what you're thinking. Mother 3, right?
Yeah, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah,
this Metroid pen, I'm announcing Metroid E3 this year. Not this year.
Yeah.
But it's got everyone talking about it. And with so many Wii U games coming to Switch, why wouldn't a Wii game coming to Switch be a possibility as well? Mm-hmm. And now people are under the impression, because there's I should back up a little bit. I believe on a recent Game Informer podcast, the crew talked about the next Zelda game. And I forget who specifically. I apologize for not knowing their names. One of them said that they
Ermin Khan.
Was it Ermin who actually said the line about "Let me talk to you off camera"?
Yeah.
About this.
That guy's in the know. He's more in the know than Damiani is.
I didn't know that was possible.
And so everyone's like, "Ooh, the new Zelda is coming sooner than we expect." And you know what? New Zelda can mean not next Breath of the Wild.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, sure, of course. Like I do expect another Zelda to come out.
Where's that top-down Zelda? Where is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
But now you have this statement from AJ Anuma, like just on the heels of that, saying Skyward Sword, right?
Yeah.
And now people are like, maybe we're getting a Skyward Sword HD or Skyward Sword's reimagining for Switch or something. Skyward Sword for Switch. And Kyle, I know you love this game, and how would you feel about Skyward Sword potentially coming to Switch?
I would feel really good because
Really good.
just like Tropical Freeze, this would sell better than that version. It would sell better than that version.
I want to just preface this real quick.
Yeah.
I know it was at the end of the Wii's life. But the Wii install base at that point, massive.
Huge.
Wii is
half of those were people buying Wii Fit. I don't want to hear about the Wii's.
I'm just saying
base.
the Switch, as well as the Switch is doing, it is not anywhere near what Wii's lifetime sales were at that point.
A lot of Wii Fit buyers in there.
But I will give you the benefit of the doubt that Switch is in a much better spot in terms of like awareness and perception right now than Wii was in 2011.
Yeah, it's also this weird thing, Damiani, where it's kind of like a musical artist has a huge back catalog, or like a TV show's got a lot of seasons, and then suddenly it gets popular, and then the other stuff isn't as good.
Right.
We just had Breath of the Wild, the best-selling Zelda. Most likely it'll get there, right? And so like it doesn't quite measure up, right? It's tough to be the first Zelda after Breath of the Wild, I think. And so I don't know. I could see a lot of people disliking it. How constricting it is, constrictive it is, as opposed to all the fun times they had in Breath of the Wild. It's kind of a harsh jump.
I can see people who loved what Breath of the Wild is trying to, especially if they've experienced Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Wow, Skyward Sword. Being a little put off by the older style of Zelda game. None of them are open world to the degree that Breath of the Wild is. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, I can see some of the people who liked or even disliked Breath of the Wild, and their chief complaint was, I wanted something more like old Zelda. This is too different from me. This isn't quite Zelda to me anymore.
Oh, motion control is primary complaint.
I'm not talking about Breath of the Wild.
Oh,
People's complaints about Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
Something like Skyward Sword is a little bit more traditional. Yeah, it's got the motion control stuff, but in terms of its design,
which they'd probably still do,
it's more old. It's more in line with the older games, closer to the older games than it is to Breath of the Wild.
And I believe it has the best story of any Zelda game. So, like, I mean, it definitely has a better story than Breath of the Wild. And so the people who said, Breath of the Wild's story sucks, it doesn't go anywhere, there's no, like, cool escalation, the ending is weird.
I liked it.
Me too. But you go to Skyward Sword and you get, like, a good Zelda. You
Big,
get a
long,
good Link.
boring story.
You get Groose.
You got Groose. Groose is a highlight.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, yeah, right, there are people who maybe dislike Breath of the Wild that could get into Skyward Sword.
Do you think they would do just a port, or would they do like a Capcom Resident Evil 2 on it?
Yeah, so
because like if it's just a port, that probably won't perform well for people who didn't.
I don't think they'll go that overboard.
Not
with
that
it.
overboard, but like overhaul it.
I think it'll be it'll obviously be rendered in HD. I don't know if they're gonna touch up any of the textures or models, or they're just gonna take the game.
They probably would, dude.
What?
They'll probably just put it in.
I think the best we could hope for probably is what they did with Twilight Princess HD, which was honestly a very minimal effort to make it HD. It was just, hey, here's the GameCube Wii version of the game. I mean, it's the GameCube version.
It's basically what Xbox does for free.
They're charging a full price, nearly full price for it, and that's kind of like the fear there. But that does bring up a good point, Ian, about it leads to a good point that people want to know about, and actually comes from one of our questions.
That's what we're here for.
Because we need to talk about how the motion controls would work with if Skyward Sword did come to Switch. And Kerbu asked, could Skyward Sword work in handheld mode if they did do this? Or would it be docked tabletop only, like 1-2 Switch or Mario Party? So those two games are the only games where you have to play in tabletop mode. You cannot do true handheld mode.
Sorry, what was the first one? Mario Party and
1-2 Switch.
Oh, okay, sure.
I think
Mario Party you can play on a TV.
No, handheld, like with the Joy-Con still attached, like take it on the go and stuff like that.
You can't.
I forget if a Snipper Clips was technically like that as well.
I mean, you could put it on its stand, Snipper Clips.
Yeah, but you couldn't have the. Yeah, I think there's actually
mode.
maybe 3 games that do it like that.
Yeah. Sure.
But essentially, that'd be weird, wouldn't it be, if you couldn't play Skyward Sword undocked, just like holding the system, like in the bus or something like that. If you were forced to have, because here's the problem: the reason for people who don't know, Skyward Sword used Wii Motion Plus for sword controls. You can move the sword in like free 360, full 3D movement, basically, and that was the crux of the battle system, was having to swing certain ways to fight enemies with the different swing patterns, also solving puzzles like that.
Yeah,
and that's the challenge now, is how do you do that in handheld mode but keep the Joy-Con still docked? Because
they would have to do like a For Honor quadrant thing, right? Like push L1 or something, and then up, down, left, right, the sword with the stick.
Like you pull a trigger and then the right analog stick.
Then you have free move sword.
That is how the emulated people do it emulated.
Oh, okay.
When they play it on Dolphin.
This is solved already. It's on Dolphin.
But that's an unofficial. But wouldn't it?
Sure. Does it work on Dolphin?
But that means
Nintendo would probably do it the other way just because they're mad.
But then that means no motion control in handheld unless they offered a tabletop.
Right.
So is there a can you think of a solution that lets you play in true handheld mode with both Joy-Cons locked into the system, but still utilizes?
I mean, you would just swing the whole damn thing, but that would be insane.
I don't want that, so I think it's not even worth trying to solve that problem.
It's not worth trying to solve that problem.
I think they should, give you the choice, except if you're in handheld, you'd have to table it otherwise.
Do you think they would be stubborn enough to say there's just no handheld option for this game. You can only play docked.
They wouldn't. They would not.
Yeah.
I think they might. I mean,
They're
Mario
stubborn and-
Party, you
yeah.
can't play with a Pro Controller. You have to play with Joy-Cons.
Yep.
You
Good point.
can't
Pokemon Let's
play
Go, you
handheld.
can't play with a Pro
Pokemon Let's Go,
Controller.
you cannot play with a Pro Controller.
That's so stubborn.
And the
It's
Pro
so nuts.
Controller is so good. And
Yeah.
with Pokemon Let's Go, there's no reason not to play with the Pro Controller.
Yeah.
Like, it even has motion controls. Like, you could go like this. I mean, it would be stupid, but,
Yeah.
like, ugh. Also, handheld mode, just pushing A to throw the thing is the best way to do it in Pokemon. So it's like, ugh.
I think personally, I think the compromise of letting you have motion controls when it's docked, like you can use the two Joy-Cons if you want independently, or at least you probably just need the right Joy-Con at that point, to replicate the motion controls of the sword mechanics is fine. Also, like you controlled the bird, you controlled the stupid grappling beetle thing. I forget all the names of that stuff.
You could easily, yeah, the Switch has way more buttons than the Wii did. So you could easily do that thing, yeah.
Right. Like I was remembering,
But-
like to charge a sword, you have to point it
Yeah, you
straight
have to hold
up.
it straight up,
That
and
could
then
be
you
a
unleash
button.
that.
Yeah.
Just make it a button.
Yeah, so
Or
that's
just
that's my
do the
thing. Like,
thing, yeah.
do you think in docked mode they will let you use like a Switch Pro controller, or do you think they will, at least in docked mode, they will force you to use motion controls?
The Pro Controller, if I'm not flipping it in my mind, like
does
the
have
Pro
gyro. You
Controller,
can-
it has gyro,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like with Breath of the Wild, the Pro Controller was basically the only way to do those stupid gyro puzzles, because like handheld, it was all squirrely, unless
Yeah.
I'm flipping it in my memory.
Yeah, you can use the Joy-Con as
Yeah.
well. I
But
remember
yeah, like
I
you
had
could
to do
just
it that
turn
way.
the entire controller, and it was like way easier.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I'm always just concerned about Nintendo when it comes to control schemes. They
Yeah.
aren't exactly
Yeah,
known for
fair.
giving you the most options. So if this does come to reality in terms of like solving this control, I hope that they offer motion controls when docked. I hope they offer motion controls when undocked if you do tabletop mode for people who really want that. But I hope they offer a traditional solution for still trying to preserve the experience as much as possible for both docked and handheld modes, because I just want to be able to use the Switch's Pro controller playing Skyward Sword if this happens.
Yeah.
It's like my number one.
This is what's insane. It was
Ass.
a love and respect question for Easy Allies podcast, talking about people with disabilities, and Nintendo saying we don't care,
Right.
Especially with Pokemon,
Right.
like we don't care.
Yeah.
Like, what, dudes?
Right.
No, you got to be able to throw that Pokeball. You got to be able to use your wrist. Like, come on.
And even in handheld mode, you have
Yeah.
to move the whole thing,
yeah,
like to
and they
point
just
it at the Pokemon.
simply
Yeah.
don't care. They do
They
not care
don't
about
care.
that minority of people who would like require that. That to me or to them, sacrificing that tiny bit
for the gimmick.
to allow people not to is not worth it to them. They want to force people into their
It's-
gimmick.
It's really weird.
It's too weird. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
HD textures and variable control options would be the things.
And,
That
and a
would be
little
good.
bit more. You know
so
what
yeah,
I mean?
like, well,
sure.
like other stuff about it. Yeah,
Like bare minimum is what I
yes.
mean. Like that's bare minimum
And I
for
think-
making this acceptable.
I think a good point to go to real quick is with our next question, because it kind of talks about like how we felt about the original game. Evan wants to know what are our opinions on the original release of Skyward Sword, and what do we think about a potential Switch remaster what do we think the potential Switch remaster could do to make it even better?
Right, because Wind Waker HD had the speed sales. That was awesome. That was such a good improvement.
They had the fast sale hidden behind I actually rewatched my review last night for whatever reason. I went down a rabbit hole of rewatching reviews. I do like every few months. Tucked behind an auction house thing.
Right.
That's not telegraphed to you. It's an optional kind of obscure side quest.
Yep.
But it is there. Makes sailing much faster, and you don't have to change the wind directions when you use that. They tweaked
that
the
too.
Triforce shard quest at the end.
It's a little more fun.
Where 5 of the 8 pieces no longer require the tedious translate map. Then
Yep.
go back, find the piece. They added like having the Wii U gamepad made it faster to like change out things as well. You can move while aiming in first person. You can play in first person, like running around with some limitations, which was kind of nice. The Tingle message thing replaced the Tingle tuner,
Yep.
so you could send messages on Miiverse to each other. A lot of we can go over this for like forever, but like they
made improvements to the
they
game, which was
made
cool.
quality
Yeah.
of life improvements,
Yes.
but they did not, aside from adjusting the Triforce shard quest in the fast sale, they didn't do anything radical as like let's add back in a dungeon we cut, or let's just add a whole brand new significant piece of content to this.
Right.
And that didn't happen. So do you think do you think it's going to be more in line with what they did with Wind Waker HD for this, if this is true, the Skyward Sword Switch?
Yeah.
Or do you think they'll do anything more drastic?
I think it'd be cool to, and maybe if you don't have as many motion controls, you don't have to worry about this. Another primary complaint immediately of anybody who played Skyward Sword is that Fi talks to you too much. She stops you. She tells you what you need to do next over and over and over and over. They would change that. I feel confident they would change that.
Were you referencing like? I don't remember when you like picked up any like item off the ground and that text came up. Is that are you also referencing
That's a whole
that?
other thing.
Oh, that was like so annoying. Like even if you left the zone and came back and picked up an item you'd already got in the description for, it would like trigger it again.
Even rupees.
Yeah,
It explains what 10 rupees is to you every single time you load a new save.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like an unintentional thing they did, or if that really was.
I think that's a holdover. I think
It only does
Twilight
it, like,
Princess does the
only
same
does
thing.
It on the first time you get a major item, though, or even a rupee. It like the first time you encounter it, says, "Oh, you got a blue rupee. Blue, it's worth 5 or whatever."
Yeah.
Every time after that, you just like ching 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 ching. It just picks up. It doesn't like give you a text. Just like it doesn't do like the whole grandstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little weird. Skyward Sword was the only one that did it to that extent.
That has to be fixed too. But no. Basically, you're handheld a lot in that game.
Oh, you're talking about yeah.
Yeah. Fi is the the dancing ballerina woman. And she talks a lot. She stops you. That's the worst thing. And so
I hate that.
And so it'd be like if Navi's just like, hey, listen. You know what I mean? Like, don't make it do that anymore. I wonder, did they turn down Navi in the 3DS version?
The Navi still talks in the same spots, so it wasn't toned down as far as I remember. They also added the and even a more optional system for getting information on how to handle something. The Sheikah statues used to use the Mask of Truth on them to get like hints, but they put like glowing ones that you could crawl into, and they would basically like show you the solution if you were really having a problem with that.
Exactly. So
but that was completely optional, not forced upon you.
And so I hope they would take some of that advice and make it optional. Just like if you are stuck, you know where to go. But if you're not stuck and you're on a roll, just let people play.
Like if you make the choice to go talk to her, she'll give you advice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not even like a little blinking thing on the bottom of the screen. That's annoying too. Just like you go to Fee if you're stuck.
Like just like issue a command to summon Fi out, and then be like, hey, can you?
Fia.
It's Fi because they said her pronunciation is Fi because it goes with sci-fi. It's not Fi like the musical note which they did with the Kokiri in Ocarina of Time. I always remembered that. It was like stuck out on my head.
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi. I guess.
Fi for fiction.
One. Curious to hear more thoughts. A quick one from me that I'd love to see is the hero mode, the hard difficulty, unlocked from the beginning.
Okay. You know what? I like
Instead of having to beat the game and then, hey, would you like to go back and play it in the hard mode, essentially?
Yeah, because there's very little incentive to play that game twice in a row.
It's nice to have that option out of the get-go. I think this should be standard for... Same thing with like they had it behind a paywall in Breath of the Wild. It was DLC, Master Mode.
Was that in the free DLC? No, you had to... Yeah.
It's part of the season pass, or you could buy.
Oh yeah, you could only get it with the.
Yeah, you can only get it with the season pass. It was the first. I think it was part of the first wave. Of stuff.
Yeah, it was with the hero.
But that's
tracks,
something that should be like a part of every future Zelda for free. It's just at the beginning, available at the beginning. Hey, I'd like to play this harder difficulty.
They definitely did that for Diablo 3 on the Switch. Adventure mode is just open from the beginning, which is really smart.
I'd want more costumes.
Oh, more costumes.
Yeah. I want more tunics.
Okay.
Link's in the same tunic the whole game, and I think after Breath of the Wild,
we
had a lot of fun dressing up Link.
I think that's something they could definitely do for this game.
Yeah,
like make a new shop or something, and you could go there and get.
Yeah, there's space in that bazaar. You could open up a little shop in there.
Yeah, there's plenty. You know what, Kyle? There's plenty of space in Skyloft.
Yeah, that's
like in the Sky World itself. So empty and.
The Sky World. Yeah, a couple of new islands would be sick.
Yeah, let's put some new islands up there.
There's like There's the Pumpkin Island rules, and the Bamboo Island is really cool, and then most of them are all pretty bland.
I never played this, so what you guys are saying is just so weird to me.
I'm
like,
cool
what?
game.
I've seen it.
It's a really, really
I may
cool
have
game.
cut that review, actually. I don't know.
The game, the soundtrack.
No, wait. When was this game?
It came out in 2011 for Wii. At the very end, the whole game starts off like you're on Skyloft. You got the Academy. Link's just it's like they even have an inside joke or break the fourth wall joke. Sorry, about it's the 25th anniversary and we're celebrating. Blah blah blah.
That's a nod. That's not breaking the fourth wall.
I don't know. He's like looks directly into the camera at the point. I was like, okay, sure, I get it. Nice little touch there.
Yeah,
It's a love letter.
I think you might like it, Ian, because a lot of people like to cite this as their favorite on-screen dynamic and relationship between Link and Zelda.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like
Isn't she
really
like
good friends.
yeah, she's like with you for parts of it, right?
Well, you're kind of like chasing after her, not like to rescue her, but she's doing stuff ahead of you with Impa essentially. She gets whisked away down to the surface, and then Impa encounters her basically and takes her. Saves her, and then they start doing stuff, and you're not sure what they're doing, but you run into them every so often.
Oh, okay.
And then the great thing, Ian, when you beat the game, is the ending cutscene, part of the credits roll.
well, don't tell me.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you specifically, but
It sounds like you're saying something right now.
no, it shows what she was doing.
Oh,
so you
cool.
get to
Okay.
find out what.
So you get to see.
Yeah.
Still kind of a
cool.
spoiler.
That's cool.
You know what else I would do? The stupid monster with big teeth.
Oh,
That needs to be improved somehow. That is so long and annoying.
the one that the
It's called like the Unbound or something, Unchained,
and it has the feet. You gotta hit the
Imprisoned maybe.
Yeah, it's imprisoned.
Yeah, you just gotta knock out his
and it
little
goes down the
toenails.
long circular path. And you got like the jets. You gotta don't.
You do that 3 times.
Is there
Yeah.
a boss that's like coming down
Oh.
a hill or something? Never mind.
Sort of like that thing. It's not a hill, but it's like going around the tadpole stuff, the musical note thing.
I love that part.
Oh,
Kyle.
I'll get it.
Sorry.
Keep going.
Kyle, no. That part, I hated that part.
Why?
Because the swimming controls stink with motion controls. Maybe they'll be better with normal controls instead of like, because you had to use the Wii Motion Plus to swim.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
I'm an expert.
And okay, Mr. Expert, so good at that. Doesn't mean it's good controls. Just means you like figured out how
Here's
to
what-
master bad controls.
Here's what I like about swimming levels is that it's true 3-dimensional movement. And so I think it's kind of fun to be in that environment again and be able to move wherever you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. And if it was really good and stuff, even in Mario 64 or any game swimming underwater, I'm swimming forward. Why can't I just go, I'm swimming like this, breaststroke style underwater? Why can't I just go, to stop? No, it's like, I gotta go up now, or I gotta stop, or I gotta go down. Like, there's no like back. You know, you can't just like go whoosh to go back up a little bit.
You're saying Mario has a backstroke movement in Mario 64?
Does not. I'm even accusing Mario 64, the game I revere.
Got you.
Like I think most swimming games, like swimming
You would
simulators,
need another button
stink.
for backwards.
Yeah,
Right?
because
You're right, because the idea is, well, if you're forward in water, you have momentum. But you're right, you can stop in water if you paddle your arms the other way.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
There's like
I get what you're
something
saying.
simple as that. Anyway, minor frustration, but
No, actually, I don't mind that part. I don't think it was too long. I think maybe it was frustrating for a lot of people.
the reason
but-
I bring this up, Kyle, is not necessarily because the gameplay component of that is frustrating. It's that was the third time you went back to that in-game character, that dragon character, and you've proven yourself twice before that you're like the hero and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, I just need one more test from you to prove that you're really the hero, and it's asshole. I just did all these two incredible tasks for you, and now you're like, go catch the musical note tadpoles, and I will teach you. I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I am so out.
You're not selling this game for me right now.
Oh, this is just one part that is
Yeah,
like really annoying and frustrating.
It's the water temple. It's the one part that
Yeah.
everybody's just like, that part
It has
sucks.
it has some really high points though.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to like I personally don't think this is the best Zelda game, but it still has high points. It does have high points. The Girahim fight was like one of the first fights initially that was this isn't a cakewalk.
Yeah.
It might be a cakewalk once you know what to do, but it really sold having to use like the Wii Motion Plus to do a fight, and then when he catches like your sword like all anime style with his hand, he's like, try harder. I know, like I was like, oh, so you can't just waggle away at him and hit him. I was
Yeah.
like, okay. Everyone loved the scene where like he gets like behind Link and stuff and like kind of like licks his ear thing. I remember that at E3 one year. Everyone was like, "Ooh, Girahim! He's like, such a cool character, so edgy and different." And I mean, it's like it's a pretty. I like the character and stuff. It was different for a Zelda game.
Another thing I really like about Skyward Sword is that the temples aren't dead after you leave them.
Oh.
A lot of Zelda temples are just like, oh, okay, I'm done with that place forever, and then that place was just a level, you know. And so I kind of think it's cool when this is like a thing that serves a purpose in this area, and you have reasons to return to them. I really like it whenever.
Is
that
it
happens.
where like you get a new tool and you can go farther in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They tried to also make the overworld feel like dungeons themselves as well. It's not a seamless overworld. You can only travel to the different quadrants of the world by going up into the sky,
Oh, okay.
flying and opening basically a portal down, and then you would teleport down into that region. And then to progress in that region, you had to solve puzzles, like do quests and stuff.
That sounds cool.
So it was basically like dungeons on top of dungeons. Essentially, was the feel of that game.
I definitely saw a bunch of this game at game trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just never played
By the way, that part would have to be really snappy.
What?
Just the idea
yeah,
of
transition.
I want to be on a different quadrant on the ground, so I have to be able to fly up really fast, fly to the circle. Like that has to be less than 30 seconds.
I have not replayed this game since probably like 2011, 2012. Since I worked on the Zelda timeline video, I think I've never touched this game
That's
again.
why I saw a bunch of this.
Probably. So it's been several years.
Yep.
I think it'd be a great opportunity to go back and say how I feel about it again.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long. I think it'll give a lot of people that chance if it's true to see, hey, how do I feel about this game after like it's been 2 generations since then. It's been a long time.
I think it's in a rare spot where there were a couple of huge hurdles on it that if those hurdles are gone, it could be much more widely appreciated.
Final thing I want to ask about, how do you feel about if this is the one that gets the next of the Zelda games, this is the one that gets the next Switch update versus say like I think people are expecting the Wind Waker HD to come to Switch or Twilight Princess HD to come to Switch because they both came out on Wii U. Mm-hmm. They both didn't sell very well on Wii U, but they would make a lot of sense to be on Switch. Whereas this game, Skyward Sword, doesn't exist in HD officially yet. So you think, just put Wind Waker HD on Switch first.
The 3DS one? Where
The
you
3DS
get flat?
Ocarina Time Majora's Mask 3D?
Or the one,
or are you talking about A Link Between Worlds?
Link Between Worlds, yeah.
That would be a good candidate to bring to Switch. Just touch it up a bit.
To me, Nintendo seems almost wisely protective of Zelda. I think that they don't want to flood every console with new Zelda. They're old Zelda games, basically, is the impression I get. I can't see them like doing 2 of those games a year, two remasters in a year.
They're probably just sitting on 8K remasters for all of them already.
Yeah,
and they just
those.
dole them out every couple of years.
Right. Because you don't want to overdo Zelda. That is like one of your last remaining like super prestigious franchises. Yeah. That just had its biggest release, and so it's on a real high right now.
That does. I do agree with that sentiment to an extent, Kyle. I will say like then I see stuff like Triforce Heroes, which is like they're absolutely not protecting. They're trying to be creative and do something different, but
they can't all pan out.
Yeah, it can't. They're not all going to be winners. They're definitely willing to take risk and do spin-off style games with that series. There's plenty of spin-offs in that series that are questionable. But I think that it'd be a good opportunity because you did hit a point about Breath of the Wild, big release, great reception, different direction for Zelda, but it would be a good time in the wait between this and the next Breath of the Wild style game to kind of like highlight what Zelda used to be as well. It's like, hey, especially for Breath of the Wild was your first Zelda game. You want to see what old Zelda was like? Yeah. Here is like something that was more traditional. So Skyward Sword makes sense, but I also do feel something like the Wind Waker HD would probably be like the Wind Waker HD would probably be the most popular candidate of any of the games of the Skyward Sword, the Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, essentially, or any of those like newer 3D ones. I think Twilight Princess is the most traditional style Zelda game. It's like because it's basically an Ocarina of Time 2.
I'd agree with you.
That would be something like, hey, do you want to see how like Zelda really was back in the day? Here's Twilight Princess. But I think the Wind Waker would be the best received game.
Yeah, but what about that Ocarina remake, dude?
That it would be received. The best received, but I think it's a little bit more effort.
Yeah.
Either going off the Ocarina, you're either going off the 3DS versions, which you could up-res them, but I still think they're gonna need a little bit of work to look good on the Switch, especially on a TV screen. Even like a Link Between Worlds, like I think that could be possible. It looked great in handheld mode, but on a big screen, I think they'd have to touch it up a bit.
Look a little grody for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd look a little blurry.
But I mean, like, smudgy. I imagine the code for that would be easier to translate to Switch, maybe. than
not
Ocarina of
entirely. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that was a whole.
I'm no scientist.
Yeah, they brought any 3DS games to Switch.
Sushi Striker.
Sushi Striker between two and Fire Emblem Warriors was on both 3DS and Switch, I believe.
There were different teams though. I know they did. Well, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah, but we'll see. Maybe Skyward Sword is coming. Maybe it's not. I won't be shocked if it doesn't.
Right. Worth talking about though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because there's been the smoke's getting bigger about a next Zelda game, and I think Breath of the Wild is not probably coming next year, but I do think they probably want to keep riding this Zelda high.
Yeah.
And Zelda games do come out a little bit more frequently than you'd like to think. They're almost an annual thing, but it's not always the big game that comes out.
Yeah.
But Damiani, it is actually probably pretty rare that we've had an entire year from a Zelda release to right now with no new Zelda game announced. That's crazy.
From March 2017 till almost the end of 2018, we've had no news, real tangible Zelda news other than they're hiring for the next 3D Zelda.
Right.
Oh.
And I think that's pretty rare.
Yeah, I think the last time you went through that long of a thing was after Link's Awakening release. No, I don't know. Like, because that came out in 90. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
If ever, that we're going to be going, let's say we don't hear till next E3. That's more than 2 years without hearing about any new Zelda game. That's a long time.
Yeah, and it's kind of exciting because they do tend to announce Zelda games too early.
What's the team that made Octopath? Is that Tokyo RPG Factory?
It's the same.
Oh, Octopath Traveler? No, it's not Tokyo RPG Factory. It is one of the business divisions in Square Enix.
It's the Bravely Default team, right?
Yeah, the Bravely Default.
It doesn't Nintendo. Is it Tokyo RPG Factory Nintendo?
No, Tokyo RPG Factory Square Enix is the thing.
Okay. They're both okay.
Yeah, and those games, both I Am Setsuna and Lost Sphere, came out multi-platform.
Yeah.
But Bravely Default, all the ones you're thinking of that came out on Switch, Nintendo just published those games. They didn't, develop
Well, I was
them.
just because I was thinking if they were Nintendo, like what exclusive, they could have them make like a banging 2D.
In Octopath style?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I mean,
of like Link to the Past style top-down Zelda. But,
even if Nintendo's
they
not
wouldn't do
pushing that, Square Enix is. They have reorganized a team to basically focus on Switch games.
Oh, that's
so
cool. But Nintendo would never let a third party make a Zelda game, right?
I mean, they did develop. It was called Flagship. They were a division of Capcom.
What game did they make?
They made Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. And then they went on to make the Minish Cap.
Oh, okay.
And then the director of that game, a little known person, who went on to direct a game you might have heard of called Breath of the Wild.
Well, oh, okay.
Hidemaru Fujibayashi.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool, okay.
And that game,
did not know that.
that guy also is the director-writer of another game that one of our allies loves and respects highly, who happened to be streaming it recently. That would be Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, what a dude. Made
Oh,
that
because of
and Breath of the
Capcom.
Wild?
Yep.
Got it.
Because he started over at Capcom and then
man.
transferred over to Nintendo.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
They recently trademarked Parasite Eve in Europe, I heard. Yeah. Square.
Let's talk about Parasite
Anyway,
Eve.
No. Trademark.
Sorry.
That's just
Yeah,
like,
I know.
hey, we
Yeah.
want to keep this. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to re-up.
It's like a good Zelda talk. The next topic. So Smash Brothers Ultimate. We're about 2 weeks from its release on December 7th.
Heard of it.
And Nintendo's been like blowing it out media-wise. Big Nintendo Directs. The most recent one kind of like showcased. They said it's the last one. Showed off the remaining roster. Showed off World of Light. Showed off like the Spirit stuff. Everything. Talked about what the DLC plan is going to be. We got to see Piranha Plants coming.
Yeah.
Like pretty much everything you can ever want. So you kind of feel good about Smash Brothers in terms of like information. And then you find out this week, it's caused an uproar, but apparently the entire game has now leaked online. And to specifically what's happened is that the game, peoples multiple have basically proven with photographs of their physical copies of the game as out in the wild. That they've been able to purchase. They weren't sent it by Nintendo. They were able to go out and purchase in the wild.
It's so early, dude.
Super
That's
Smash
crazy.
Bros. Ultimate
so
for
early.
Switch.
Yep.
But some of those initial people basically said, hey, I just wanted to prove I have it and it's out there. But they were pretty respectful. They said,
Right.
hey, I'm not going to post anything about this beyond the just the box and the cartridge, and it running up like the title screen on my Switch to prove it's real, and that's it. You know, I don't want to ruin it for anyone.
But I still want your attention.
Yeah,
I still want your.
I crave praise.
I think you know what? I don't know if it's necessarily. I don't know if it's only driven by that. I think it's kind of like, hey, I got lucky.
Right.
I bought it. It's real, guys. It's real. I just want to tell you, I'm excited. It's
Getting a game
the era
2
of,
weeks early is exciting.
It's the era of social media.
Okay.
Just wanted to like I don't think it's like 100% a stealth brag intentions there. However, some nefarious things happen and come along with when that information is then made public. Because now a lot of people know, oh, I could go buy this game somewhere. And people start digging.
Have we tried, by the way?
Apparently, it's only happening in Mexico.
I got a guy.
That's like a 4-hour drive.
Yeah,
got to go down there. We got to get it.
Let's go to TJ, buy some.
I think that border's closed
Smash
though right
Bros.
now, unfortunately.
Oh.
So we'd have to go a different route.
We'd have to go around San Diego.
Yeah.
And my passport's expired
we
because
have
I'm a freak.
People that got a hold of it eventually did dump it online, the game, and it has been completely data mined now. So everything about the game is now out in the open 2 weeks before. The entire
There's
soundtrack.
no hidden character model. There's no hidden song. There's no hidden levels. Everything's been exposed.
All 1,000 plus of the songs are out there. You can go listen to them.
1,000 plus.
Yeah, it's like over 1,000 songs.
Before we continue, I feel like we should say
We are
whether
not
or not we're going to spoil anything.
Aside
right
from
now.
aside from that number of
saying.
songs, they've already said that's over 900 plus songs,
Yeah.
and then they said if you factored in all the extra stuff, it'd probably be over 1,000. Just confirms it. I am not going to reveal anything else
Okay,
in terms
good.
of specifics. Even if there is new stuff,
Because you didn't check it either, right?
I have not looked at it.
Yeah.
I have not looked at. I listened to one song just to make sure it was legit. I was like, yeah, I've never heard that version of that song. Okay, I guess it's legit.
Yeah.
That was it. It was a certain song. I won't even say what it is.
Cool.
But all the songs are out there. All the details, like everything's out there now.
Yeah.
And it's causing a huge uproar. I guess that's the point of this, is that it seems to like worked everyone up into a tizzy. And there's like,
I love that phrase.
this is such like a multifaceted thing, because in this specific case study, there's a side of people is like, it's Smash Brothers, it's a fighting game. What are you even spoiling with this? Nintendo already blew everything out. Who cares?
They already announced all the characters.
So let's start here. We're not talking about whether or not people should be able to play a game if they got it early or not. This is not what this discussion's about.
You got it early. Play that game.
Play the
if
hell
you got,
out of
if you
it.
got
Yeah.
through legitimate means, so
Yeah,
be it.
congrats.
Like, this is what's happened here. I'm talking about like we're talking specifically about people who get a game early, and then did they release all that information? Is it like ruining for other people? Is it not ruining for how do we feel about that act right there? Dumping the information online ahead of its release so that the whole game is out there for everyone to see. And
I think there are tiers of that.
Yeah,
Because if you're
yeah.
if you're writing an article or a tweet or whatever where like the biggest spoiler of all time is the headline, you're a monster. If your headline or tweet is like, follow this link if you want to read the spoilers for this thing, I'm like, okay, that's someone's choice. Fine, whatever. In my opinion.
We still can't believe what Thanos did. You're a monster for that too.
Right.
Don't
Right.
even
Well, I
be.
mean,
don't even
hinting
be.
is
Yeah.
bad.
here's like
Now philosophically,
during-
are you a monster right now?
But
Yes.
during Avengers Infinity War, the day it came out, people were tweeting
yeah.
the meme of "I don't feel so good."
Yeah. It's so lame. And it's just like, what? I didn't spoil anything. You won't even know. You don't even know. I hate that. That's the least kind of funny joke to me.
Trailers, though, like even if I had $1 for every trailer that has the last shot of the
Yep.
movie in the trailer, hell, I won't say which, but like recently there was a certain film whose poster was the last shot of the film.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, what? It's crazy.
What's the How to Train Your Dragon? And it's
Oh,
called How to Train Your Dragon and like the Lost City. And the end of the trailer is like, so there is a lost city. And then they show the lost city. Why?
Tease me, don't show me.
Why?
Yeah.
Oh,
We had to make a good trailer. We needed the visuals. Like, no, you didn't. That time you did not.
Show, don't tell.
You did not need it.
that's all you need.
But to me,
Love
soundtrack
is all
leaks,
you need.
go ahead. But on the other side of that, if you're a YouTube channel uploading the tracks that you got leaked, you can get taken down. Nintendo can take you down, but I won't shed a tear.
nuke you from
So-
orbit. if
And they
you-
have been.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nintendo is.
So I think any media
draconian about that.
produced from a leaked version of a game, should like it's totally fair game to have it like removed, like taken down.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And anyone complaining about that, like,
breaking embargo at least.
yeah. No, but I guess like how
Like you signed a terms of service. It's in there, bruds.
But what happens when you go legitimately? Here's a question: you go
Okay.
legitimately buy Smash Brothers at your local store that somehow magically got the game early.
Yeah.
I paid money for it. I have a receipt. Nintendo.
Right.
I bought it. They had it early. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just there and I bought it. And now I'm playing it, and I want to stream it and stuff because I stream all my games and stuff. I'm not a journalist. I didn't sign any NDA stuff like that.
Right.
Unfortunately, like Twitch does have like the thing is, a lot of these places do have guidelines in place. Twitch says you can't stream a game before its official release date.
Right.
But what happens if you have like your own website and you start posting like screenshots and you upload the MP3s and stuff like?
Then like trusted reviews, you get sued for $2 million.
Because that's the
Yeah.
thing is
It's
I
like
think,
it's a
or
question
whatever-
about
whoever it
ownership
was
now.
that
Like, do
Rockstar
you
sued.
like do you really own that game and its contents, or it's still Nintendo's property? And you don't have the right to like disseminate that stuff.
exactly. I think we forget that a lot. Is that we don't have a right to stream games. We're allowed to stream games. It's not. It's not our legal right to be able to do it. Like we're still using
Like our
other people's
entire
media.
job is based on just like the kindness of strangers, like allowing us, like not copyright suing us every day.
Right, because they see the good in it.
Right.
They see
It's
that they make
it's an
more money from
advertisement,
doing it.
Like in a way. Not,
Yeah.
It's not literally, but like,
Yeah,
and
but
press is good press, right?
But like that's poking the bear. That's like it's harming that goodwill that we have. That this unstable relationship with video game publishers. When you negate that trust, I mean, maybe you didn't know. I could see a case where it's just like, well, I didn't know I wasn't allowed to do that.
Right.
I could
Like-
see it. You're still gonna get burned. You have to be
I would
responsible
say,
about this kind of thing.
I would actually say like the cases where I sympathize with the player is when like they go online to play a game, they bought it early, and then
Yeah.
they get like a console ban or something. It's like, no, the person bought it legitimately.
Yeah.
That's not their fault.
That's
And and that's not against any like Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo network
Right.
service. Like you got it, like you're playing a legitimate copy. How should you be punished?
Well,
for
that's
that?
like
Yeah.
it's like in the court of law, right? You have to, if you're suing or doing punitive stuff, you have to prove malicious intent, right? Like I was on a jury duty where we had to prove that Wells Fargo or whoever the hell it was had like malicious intent against this overly trusting guy, and it was just like,
Did they?
no, because everyone on that end was just a moron, and he just trusted too much. And I was like, me and this other guy, like 12 Angry Men, the jury, because
Oh,
everyone
nice.
else was like, oh, they're clearly blah blah, and I'm like, you've been emotionally manipulated. There's no proof here, and I like swayed them all, which is pretty crazy. But like, yeah, you have to prove, like if you're like a 14-year-old who bought Smash and is super excited and then goes on Twitch and streams it without reading any of the stuff, because you're not going to read it, you're super excited to play Switch or Smash, like you're doing something wrong, but you don't know it. So I don't think you shouldn't go to like get a fine or something for that. But if you're data mining it and putting it up, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit more cut and dry. The legal and like the like what the rules are out there about whether or not you should do this or not. I think let's talk about like the moral implication of this, whether it's like morally okay to do something like this or not.
I don't talk about morals, man.
Well, let's talk about let's make it
all
simple.
morality.
Yeah.
Let's start simple and let's keep in the case of just this incident, this
Okay.
Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Sure.
As I started out with this discussion, I said this is just the argument is that some people believe it's just a fighting game. Nintendo's revealed everything. What harm is this really doing to anybody? That like it's not like I mean. It's not like you're not. Don't go pirate the game and download it. That's a whole like that's definitely wrong. But me going to listen to something and encouraging someone to dump the soundtrack, I just want to hear the song and stuff. I'm still going to play the game. What's wrong with that? Whereas people like there's a camp that says no, those should absolutely not exist right now. No one should be able to hear that music unless Nintendo officially put it out, like on the Smash blog in samples, or the game is officially released. Like, yeah, how do you feel like about like that moral kind of? Is there a moral responsibility to respecting video games or something like that notion that
I mean, there's a precedent.
Yeah.
There's a precedent, right? Like that. This is why we have release dates and embargoes, especially because sometimes embargoes are before the release date. If a company is really confident or whatever, they'll let the reviews go up a week early because they just know. But like in the case of video games, there are established rules where here's the embargo date, here's the release date, and it's like going to the movie theater. Like if you sneak into a movie or see a movie early somehow, like your friend shows you a version of the movie or something, like you don't have legitimate access to that. And like if you went to the store and bought it, you have legitimate access to it because the store was wrong, not you. And like, you can play it, that's fine. But people on Twitch, since you're not allowed to show it, and like, the gates aren't open, it's not allowed yet, they didn't pay for access to that content, technically. So I guess, like, technically it's not right. Like, you're not going to go to hell or something, but like...
Yeah. It's...
So for me, it's like a matter of respect for Sakurai, in this case in particular,
Sure.
who is someone who cares about surprises, who cares that some of those tracks would be leaked, that like everything is so deliberate with this person that what was shown of World of Light was so particular, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to show this part. I don't want to show this part. It probably pained him to show as much as he did. And so I think that's where I get bummed out. I think that... there are surprises waiting in the challenge mode. Those are always fun. And so if you already know coming in what all of those are, if you already know what all the dumb stickers are going to be, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun of the game is the surprises of those modes, at least.
And I mean, yeah, it's just like any moral quandary where it's like, will your actions cause harm to someone? Don't do it.
Yeah, and you're causing Sakurai harm.
Right.
You're hurting my friend.
You're hurting Sakurai.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. He gives us so much. Why hurt that man?
Yeah.
Good. That's a good point. I saw some part of the Smash community drafted a letter to Sakurai, and they were asking like all the biggest members of the Smash community who supported it, basically saying we're really sorry this happened.
Yeah.
Have you
Who
seen
drafted it?
No.
Who wrote it?
I don't know who specifically wrote it, but like members of the Smash community
okay.
have been like retweeting it and reposting it. Basically, it's just like an open letter to Sakurai saying like, listen, like we like denounce that this happened. We think it's reprehensible. Like, please don't just blanket all of us as a Smash community into like this crime. Basically, a lot of us still respect you as a creator. We respect the content. We want to experience it the way you intended it when it comes out.
Yeah,
and we just want to say we appreciate all the hard work you put into this game. Because in case, like, I guess like you said, Kyle said, if you're a creator and if you see this, everything you do is deliberate. And if you see someone experiencing the game, you didn't no one intends their game to be experiencing like listening to the soundtrack through YouTube videos ahead of time or watching the videos online ahead of time or so-and-so's in this game now and it's unlocked this way. Like, oh, well, we're told. No one intends it for it to be that way.
Yeah, it's showing disrespect to the property, the creators, and the content itself. Yeah.
I do want to say, conversely to this, with Smash Bros. For Wii U, a lot of those characters' DLC leaked from data mining, and I don't think that's immoral. If you find a Ryu code in Smash Bros. Wii U and say, hey, everybody, Ryu's coming, that's on the designers, that's on the developers for making that so overt. You know what I mean? Like, that's on them for not hiding it correctly. It is different to me. Maybe it's pre-release, post-release. But yeah, at the same time, just to be on a side of somebody sneaking in and sharing stuff that the director doesn't want shared, I can see it both ways. I can see that other way around.
Yeah, I'm okay. Like, data mining a game that's out is like, hey, you're just looking at the game that exists. Yeah. It's a different thing, I think.
I think it's fair game.
It's still, If anything, the programmers, if they're going to put Ryu and stuff like in a data mineable way, they should like make it a game, like encrypt it, make you solve like puzzles, hacker puzzles,
and like some weird movies where they shoot alternate endings just to get people like not to know which
Game
one
of
it
Thrones.
is.
They shot like 3 different versions of the ending, like episode or whatever.
So hide some characters in there we'll never see.
Right. And then people get so mad. I'd love it.
Yeah.
Alucard is just like hiding
Alucard.
out. Yeah, like voice clips and stuff that just don't exist.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so awesome.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I want to keep it to one question because I think we covered our responses answered the other question. But so our one question comes from Straw Hat Ninja. Greetings, allies. What can companies like Nintendo do to prevent their games from getting leaked and data mined in advance in the way that Smash was? I share Huber and Bossman's attitude of going dark with games I care about, and this is a big reason why you have to do that. Love and respect.
Yeah. Yeah, I am dark on Smash Bros. For the record. This one, I mean, you just said it's physical releases in Mexico, right? I think that distribution's hard there.
Yeah.
I think that they had to plan early. I don't know what you do against it.
I don't know if there's an answer because like you have to ship to stores to be there on opening day, and you have to at least build in a little bit of buffer because, like, if a truck falls over, you miss Ohio on opening night, and that sucks.
Yes.
So like you have to send out early, and you just trust that retailers aren't gonna like break embargo or opening day or whatever,
And then they break that trust.
and then they do it, and it's just like it's everybody's choice. Like you do whatever you want, but like I don't know if there's an answer. Like unless you put Nintendo actually does this with digital stuff, you would have to. And I mean, I'm sure you could hack around it, but like if you download something digitally, right, on Switch or PS4 or whatever, it says checking the internet to see if you can play this yet or whatever. You'd have to like build that into a cartridge too, like, which would suck, but like.
Yeah, you could do the old Jay-Z trick.
But then would you have to be online even after release date? Like, oh, that would suck.
You do online first. You do the digital download before the physical release, which is fun
I've
too.
seen some people suggest that. But you don't think that would, especially in gaming, you don't think that would anger
It
a
would anger
significant
people. Yeah, if
portion
you don't
of,
have internet,
of consumers?
it would suck. It would
It's
suck.
like,
Yeah, you can wait a week.
yeah, I don't know if that's the agreeable thing. I also think in Switch's case specifically, and a lot of other previous consoles, the problem is it is hacked. The Switch is hacked.
Yes.
Nintendo tried to deploy a new thing recently that people thought might, stop it for a while. They easily found another exploit through
It took like a day, really?
It's already done. Like, yeah, that's how like, easy it was.
I thought of it.
What?
So you instead of having it connect to the internet, every console from now on has to have a camera on it, and with a page scan function, you just scan today's newspaper, and you need a newspaper, like an official newspaper that has the date on it.
And I think you nailed it with like the shipping logistics and stuff. I know people ask like, well, Amazon could deliver a package same day to me and stuff, or next day. Why? This is large bulk shipments on like a global scale.
They come on like boats.
Yeah, it does. Like So I imagine orchestrating it all that done, like it needs that buffer time and stuff.
Yeah.
And every time we try and get high tech answers, people always find a way to get it. Like just throwing it out there, like one of all the boxes came in special crates, even when they're delivered to GameStop, to have like some kind of like password that needs to be entered to even open the box to take out that, and a Nintendo rep, because they have those Nintendo reps to go around all the stores to put the signage and stuff up. Like they have job postings for that. I remember when we got out of college, I was looking for that. Like, people can just go around in their city or whatever and put up game stores, put up signs for Nintendo. I was like, that sounds kind of cool.
That does sound
They're
cool.
like, it's not really cool.
Oh, it sounds cool.
Maybe it's cool. I don't know.
Cool.
But like that person could like have like the master password like on the day of the release at 9 a.m. in the morning. Like, here it is. I'm going to input it in there. And now you could like take out the copies and sell them. But same problems. What if the person gets sick? What if their car breaks down? Like, what if they're just not there and stuff?
Yeah.
Or what if it's Nintendo has to call in and like, the code or something like that?
Here's the thing though, is I don't see it. I know I've been really mean about it this entire conversation. I don't see it as a big problem. Much like the person who wrote that question, if you are sensitive to these types of things, Media Blackout's easy on this.
Yeah. Don't click that link.
Right. Nintendo's doing everything they can to take down anybody who's posting that stuff. Sure. I just think it's like a natural part of this, and I don't think that this was that damaging.
I think
for this one, yeah.
Because the people who care weren't spoiled, I feel like.
But it has been a trend. Like, it wasn't as widely reported, but like Pokemon Let's Go leaked and was data mined and all that stuff ahead.
You're right. They had Melmetal ahead of time. Mm-hmm. You're right. And that would suck for next year's Pokemon.
Melmetal's
in
That
there?
would truly suck.
But like people think that because
I don't even know what Melmetal is.
Because people
He's a new
think
guy.
this is precedent set now. Nintendo
How
can't
do
do
I get
anything
it?
about it.
Go.
People are like,
Pokemon
what?
Go?
Yeah, you gotta get the 2 forms, and it's actually they're the 2 last master trainers in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. You can't beat all of them until you get those 2.
And so you have to play Pokemon Go to succeed in Pokemon Let's
Also,
Go.
you need
So I have to
through
go
the
catch it in
Pokeball.
Pokemon Go?
Yes.
Ugh.
Many of them.
Oh, I'm probably not going to do that.
Yeah, don't do it.
I think as soon as we are all just implanted with biochips at birth that can track our location, our credit card information.
This is gonna go against our social
stuff.
credit.
Yeah, well, and then
Yeah.
you have to scan your biochip with everything you play just to verify that it's you and you own it. That'll fix it.
Nope.
I'll give it 6 years.
Nope.
And you have to say the Pledge of Allegiance
Nope.
too.
Backwards.
Yeah.
like Twin Peaks, like Black Lodge backwards. Actual
Okay.
backwards. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no. Yeah.
We're running out of time here, down
Yeah.
here.
We're,
Okay,
The
all right,
next
all right.
next segment is really short, but like
No more jokes about biochips, guys.
Okay.
Come on. But like, yeah, I think it's. I think you can go on Media Blackout. I was just gonna say like, a lot of these social media sites and services are offering you like filters now. Like Twitter, you could add like a filter to filter out all Smash stuff. I started seeing people post the titles and like links to YouTube songs for Smash Brothers. I just decided to put a filter: Smash Brothers music. Ultimate, like it all went away. I was like,
we talked about Simmons at the top of this podcast. He was tweeting out leaks.
Oh yeah,
mute Simmons.
Yep.
Sorry, dude.
Yep.
Who the hell is Simmons?
Damiani's roommate,
Yeah,
who occasionally appears on this podcast.
it's part of
Never met
video
him.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, no,
sorry, dude. You got muted.
I don't. Yeah, like I'll go like she says Boundary Break. It's collaborated on GameSoup, tweeting out all the song stuff and like
Yep.
didn't even ask, is it okay for me after they did it? So they keep mentioning song titles. I was like, filter.
Yeah.
As soon as Smash comes out, I'll undo that. I didn't mute them, but I was like,
Yeah.
I'll take that filter off
Right.
because I don't like muting people who I actually want to follow and stuff.
I like
so,
Boundary Break though.
Yeah,
I like Boundary Break.
definitely. Great stuff. But I was like, same thing.
You mentioned us a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
The Final Fantasy one.
I just do that.
Yeah.
Same thing. Final thing. Let's move along.
Yeah.
Final thing. Short one. Just want to get out of the way. In the recent English release
right.
of the Breath of the Wild, Creating a Champion, the final set of books that have been coming out for the Zelda series. They had like Hyrule Historia, the Encyclopedia, arts and an art book and stuff, and now this final one dedicated just to Breath of the Wild. Finally came out in English from Dark Horse. 3 different versions of it. I got all 3.
I was just gonna say, did you get all 3?
I must see that Comic-Con exclusive version that only just released this
So
week.
just buy the one.
It's
I
amazing.
support
I
you,
tweeted out
Damian.
the cover. I tweeted out the photo of it.
Just
the
get that
cover.
one. You don't need
It's
the other
amazing.
two. Just
Oh,
get the
no.
most special one.
Unique,
I support
unique
you.
packaging and
Oh,
stuff.
my goodness.
Anyway, the point is there is a statement in there from AJ Newman regarding the placement of Breath of the Wild in the Zelda timeline that is making the rounds. And here is the full statement from AJ Aonuma. The final thing I'd like to convey to all of our players is that video games, not just Zelda, can go much, much farther. We got a lot of responses from adult players who said they felt the same way playing this game, Breath of the Wild, as they did when they used to be hooked on video games when they were younger. We made this game with the intention of returning to our roots, so the response from players about feeling the same as when they had when they were young is promising. Since Nintendo Switch is portable, I hope that they will be able to engage deeply with the game in a fresh new way too. In books, like the recently released Legend of Zelda Encyclopedia, we revealed where each Zelda game fell on a timeline and how their stories are related. But we didn't do that for Breath of the Wild. There is a reason for that. With this game, we saw just how many players were playing in their own way and had those reactions I just mentioned. We realized that people are enjoying imagining the story that emerged from the fragmental imagery we were providing. If we defined a restricted timeline, then there would be a definitive story, and it would eliminate the room for imagination, which wouldn't be as fun. We want players to be able to continue having fun imagining this world even after they are finished with the game, so this time we decided that we would avoid making clarifications. I hope that everyone can find their own answer in their own way. So essentially, if too long didn't read, if you just tuned out during that,
Yeah.
AJ Numa just confirmed in English that Breath of the Wild will have no official timeline placement.
Great.
They will not confirm where it takes place.
But for real, it's
And
like
that is the final statement on that.
it's like way after and all the other games are Legends, right?
Yeah.
So, Ian, real quick about that. Back in August, Nintendo's official Japanese site for Zelda stated that
yeah.
Breath of the Wild took place at the end of all 3 timelines, and it was up to you to decide which timeline it took place at.
All of them, baby.
And then in a Famitsu interview at that same time, because this is basically, Ingenuum has been kind of like saying this in different ways for like the past year, essentially. Back in August, he said, well, of course, at the very end, I get that you're asking in which timeline is it at the end of regarding Breath of the Wild. Director Fujibayase said, well, that's up to the player's imagination, isn't it? And Anima responded, Hyrule's history changes with time. When we think of the next game and what we want to do with it, we might think, oh, this will fit well, and place it neatly into the timeline. But sometimes we think, oh, crap, and have to change the placement. Actually, the decided history has been tweaked many times. Laughs in parentheses. Fujibayase said, lately within the company, a term called new translation has cropped up. Laughs. Strictly speaking, we don't change it, but rather new information and truths come to light. And then that is why you should pay attention to future studies as well. Please look forward to it. I guess future games. And yeah.
New
What?
translations.
Yeah,
That's what
new
they mean.
translations.
What
Yeah.
I like about that is it makes it feel more like the history books in our own reality, where it's like, you know, and you get myths and histories from different sources, or like Game of Thrones, like contradictory information, like these people see it this way, these people see it this way. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I liked about Breath of the Wild, is it made all the other games feel like stories that exist in this world, and you're not really sure how much of them are real or not.
2 questions for both of you from our
Okay.
patrons.
All right.
This is all that really matters. First one from Morgan.
You're all that matters, Patron.
Could Zelda's
true.
producer's statement about the timeline mean that they want to put the timeline to bed and not consider it for future projects?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes?
I think
Yes.
they're tired of it.
Yeah.
And their answer was, I think it would be for the best, as the timeline feels like an afterthought that serves to restrict creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean-
as we said last time, sometimes I think the timeline is used very well and it can be effective in certain ways. But to me, it sounds like they have no interest in that.
I mean, what it sounds like they say is like, if we have an idea that fits, it
Yeah.
fits. If we have an idea that doesn't, we don't worry about it. And I think that's the way to do it.
Wind Waker is like the best example. This game exists because of a game prior to it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Second question's from Jeremy. I know this question is going to ruffle some feathers, but
Oh,
does the
boy.
Zelda series really need a timeline? They answer, yes, it would add to the series' general world building, but theoretically, the games themselves should do the world building for the sake of making each individual game better, not the series as a whole.
I personally love interconnected stuff,
Yeah.
but I love it when it's you have to dig a little to find it yourself. You know, like Brandon Sanderson has a character named Wit in some of the books that's like in other books here and there, and you don't even necessarily realize that it's the same character until like you put it together. Stuff like that is really cool to me, where it's not just like this comes after this, like where it's like this seems like it might relate to that, you know.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I feel like it's just video games as a medium makes it really hard to do interconnectedness because development is so fluid.
Sure.
And you have to just change things dramatically because of what's fun or whatever technology arises and things like that. And so, yeah, I don't think there can be a Marvel cinematic universe, that sort of consistency ever with a video game franchise.
Even Marvel doesn't always get it right.
Yeah.
Like they make some mistakes with the timeline.
I think
Yeah.
it's a really good point, Kyle. I think I don't need to go into depth about it, but like the original Legend of Zelda time, I'm gonna classify Breath of the Wild as its own separate thing.
Sure.
But everything before that, everyone trying to fit it into a timeline, whatever like their idea was for it, was a byproduct of a lot of things that you just like articulated perfectly. Development teams changed. Writers weren't consistent across games. Like there wasn't even a coherent vision from the start. Like you can name all the problems that led to this is really why this is. And then they even answered, sometimes it works when we pick a timeline, sometimes it doesn't. We got to revise stuff. And they've always said we don't want to be creatively restricted because we got to place the game before or after something like that.
Yeah.
And I know like there is some reward in having interconnectivity between the games, but I think, and what I had wished would happen is one of two things to wrap up my thoughts on this. I wish Breath of the Wild either just said so long to all the other games, and it still can technically now that they've said this. Like they could actually just come out and say, actually, it was just referencing all those games. It's a nice kind of like nod, like a fun, like playful tribute to these games. Maybe like they were legends. They never took
Right.
place, but
Yeah.
they're legends
That
that
was
we've always
my
told
read.
and stuff. Like what? Yeah, I was about to say, like Ian has presented that theory, and it's a pretty good one. I either want them to go all in and say, hey, we have a Zelda team. We have a Zelda writing team. They're going to create a lore Bible for this series and stuff. And we're going to have a development team working with them. Says, here are the ideas we have for future games. Let's try and like organize this a little bit better so that when we're developing game B or C, whichever one jump to, we already have a plot. So they can jump around but all over a quote timeline.
Yeah, no way though, right?
But they're never going to do that.
They would
That's
never
that's
do-
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you need like
Crazy.
HBO Game of Thrones writers for
Yeah.
that, and that's not their specialty.
Right.
So I would prefer them to go in the route of there might be clues and stuff that tease you, and you might have to work for finding any connections and stuff. But I thought the beauty of the old Zelda timeline before it was like they tried to solve it and reveal it was that it couldn't be solved.
Yeah.
There was no way to figure it out definitively, and so many people got so passionate about it because they had their own. It was essentially the perfect embodiment of what the anime said. Like people just like play these games, have their own unique experiences. They craft their own story.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone could craft their own timeline to an extent. Some things were obviously ironed out,
Yeah.
but it left a lot of room for imagination, and I think that was great. So I think if we're not going to get the all-out method, go with that. Like maybe a game has a direct sequel and that's it. Then we move on to like a whole other thing that has no connection.
Yeah.
But like I want them to. I'd like to go back to that point where we didn't know anything about like the definitive timeline.
Be free.
I think it was the worst mistake Nintendo made.
Yeah.
Well, what'll be interesting is what game comes what comes next after Breath of the Wild, right? Because if Breath of the Wild is like this eternal end cap that everything else exists behind it, you know, because they sort of said, it's at the end of the timelines. What you do next is interesting because it's like, do you do a sequel to Breath of the Wild and then it's Breath of the Wild 2 and it continues from there? Or is it just a whole other like mythical off to the side thing? Yeah, it could be interesting.
Yeah, and like to answer the person's question definitively, I don't think Zelda going forward does need a timeline anymore.
Yeah.
And I think but Nintendo needs to rip that Band-Aid off and just like come out and say, hey,
they need to say
going forward, games might be part of an anthology. Yeah. That they feel like that this is like the Breath of the Wild series. Like 3 games are going to be its own trilogy.
That's a good idea.
But
that's a good idea.
Game 4 is going to be its own thing. No connection. It's a whole new universe. Like that's the easiest way to probably do it.
They would just need to communicate it clearly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They need to rip out the Band-Aid and be upfront and like just deal with it and say it and not let people guess.
Also, like that would be the easiest thing to do if they do want a timeline thing is just start a new timeline with Breath of the Wild, and like the other one's behind it. This one just goes forward because now we're thinking about it. Like over 30 years of making games, like you're not going to plan out the whole, you know.
This is a cool idea in my head about them because if they don't have a one coherent timeline, let's say next 3D Zelda game isn't even a sequel to Breath of the Wild. It's something completely new and different. Let's say 3 years after that, we're going back to make a sequel to Breath of the Wild, the next entry in the Breath of the Wild series. And they say it has no connection to the previous game. That game, it's its own separate thing. And then maybe like 10 years later, hey, remember that second game that came out? We're going back and making a sequel. Like, that'd be cool to like jump around and stuff.
The Call of Duty method.
Yeah, like they have their own series and stuff.
Zelda
I think
3 The Wild Hunt.
We'll see. Thank you, everyone, who sent in those questions for this episode of Friend Code. If you would like to have your question considered for a future episode, if you are a $5 and up patron, I will make a post the week we're recording calling for your questions. Please try to keep them about the topics for that week. In that same post, I will tell you the topics we'll be talking about in the episode, and try to make them as concise as possible. That'll help your chances for them getting selected. Also, if you're a $5 and up patron, you get every episode of Friend Code, as well as episodes of many of our other shows on Easy Allies as early access. This show goes up on Sundays for patrons, so if you're seeing this on Sunday, thank you very much for your support. If not, you see it on Tuesdays for its public release. It's every other week as well. I want to thank both of you for joining me on short notice for this. I hope it kept the timeline discussion pretty painless.
No, it was great.
So it wasn't. I knew it was like it wasn't going to go into details about Zelda time. It's more about like the thoughts and philosophy behind it.
Great.
Thought it made it for a good discussion. But until next time, everyone, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.